Alright, hello AstroBoost subscribers, and welcome back to the final video in the Exalted and Debilitated Planet series. I am not going to be doing, actually, you know what, I might finish out this series with Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, Rahu, and Ketu, although the reason I'm not going to put too much emphasis into those videos, I might put them all into one video, is because the exaltation and debilitation of those planets does not impact somebody's life as much as the exaltation and debilitation of the 7 traditional planets, simply because the orbital periods of those planets, with the exception of Rahu and Ketu, is so drawn out and dramatic that it actually has more to do with the revolutions of society and the rise and fall of countries and that kind of thing, and the rise and fall of different religions and belief systems, as opposed to anything happening to an individual. So I might just put all those topics into one video. But anyway, moving forward, today's video is on the exaltation and debilitation of the planet Saturn. And Saturn, if you don't know, represents in the collective mind work ethic. It represents purpose. It represents discipline. It represents delayed gratification. It represents, on the negative end, authoritarianism, tyranny. Social revolution can be both positive and negative depending on the outcome. It represents the public, the crowd, service to others, and reputation and fame. So if you want to look at what somebody is going to do with their life in a very generalized sense, you're going to look at their Saturn placement, their 10th house placement, and that sort of thing to get your primary image of what this person is going to do, and as far as their work and service to others. And if you want to look at the success of what they do, the impact, what you're going to do is you're going to look at Mercury, because Mercury is your intelligence. Again, exaltation and debilitation. There are certain places in the zodiac belt where planets are more comfortable. Certain subpersonalities are more comfortable when they are predominantly dealing with a certain area of the mind. Certain archetypes favor certain planets better. Certain signs and houses favor certain planets better than other signs and houses. And the most extreme case of that is the planet's exaltation, or its comfort zone. And the most extreme circumstance where the planet is uncomfortable, or where it is not favored by that sign or house, is called its debilitation point, or its fall point. And the reason it's called fall is because the sun, which is exalted in Aries, which is the sign that starts on the spring equinox, is that's spring, and then the opposite of spring, which would be the debilitation of the sun, is Libra, which starts in the fall. Now, the reason I use that example is because Saturn has the opposite exaltation and debilitation points of Sun, which sort of means that Saturn is the sort of antithesis of Sun. It has the opposite goals and objectives of the Sun. And if you remember in the first video in this series, when I was talking about the exaltation of the sun being in Aries in the spring equinox, and the debilitation of sun being in fall in Libra, which also corresponds to sunset, because Aries corresponds to dawn, what you are looking at here is the reversal of that. And if you remember also the sigil of sun, which is the dot with the circle around it, I said that circle is the circle of Saturn, meaning the boundaries. Saturn represents boundaries, limitations. So the thing that distinguishes one thing from another, the barrier, is Saturn. Saturn represents the borders of the country. It represents that kind of thing, as well as all the other stuff I said. Today we're going to be talking about the exaltation and debilitation of Saturn. And Saturn being exalted in Libra and being debilitated in Aries. Now, because Saturn represents society, obligation, duty to others specifically, this is why it's debilitated in Aries. Because Aries is a sign of the self. If you remember from the Sun video, I said the reason that the Sun is exalted in the sign of Aries is because the Sun is the hero of its own story, and Aries is the protagonist as well. So your ego being in the house of your body, in the house of your protagonist, it makes a person very kingly. Now, when Saturn is in the house of the protagonist, this means that a person's work ethic goes directly into their personal aesthetic. So people often accuse people of Sun and Aries of being narcissists, but really the king is not a narcissist because he has earned his title. It's when you look at the work ethic and the work that somebody does, and they put all this effort into perfecting their own personal body and their own personal identity. Often this is a sign of, extreme narcissism. And also, because Saturn can only be in one place, this means that when it's in Aries, it is not helping society, because Aries is not the sign of society, it's the sign of your body. Versus when Saturn's in the 10th house or the 7th house, it is helping other people. But when it's in the sign of Aries, it does not help other people because it's too busy helping itself. And this creates a very negative feedback loop where people always feel like they should be in the position of authority, and they, as a result, pick fights with their boss because they have an image of themselves that is extremely, it's fueled by anxiety, but they feel like they should be the boss in every situation, even in situations where they shouldn't necessarily be the boss. Whereby, or on the flip side of this, when Saturn is in Libra, these people are very humble. And because of their humility, they end up getting into positions of power and authority that are legitimate, because the best way to be in a position of power and authority is to have people respect you. And people respect people who help them. People respect people who are humble servants, who put their ego in check, who keep their head down, do their work, keep everything balanced, and are prime negotiators, as opposed to people who want to charge ahead and conquer everyone. There was a study done in chimps, with chimpanzees, where the most aggressive, dominant, sort of tyrant-style male chimp, he would be chronically assassinated by his team members because they viewed him as having illegitimate authority. Whereas a chimp who was strong, yes, but who made good connections with other chimps, and who was calm and polite, and as far as a chimp can be calm and polite, he was much less likely to be assassinated as when he was the leader of the group, because the other chimps liked him. And that shows you how far down this stuff actually goes. I mean, it goes down into the level of chimpanzees, and we're pretty close to that. So the concept of illegitimate authority being loud, being brash, being aggressive, this is not just some arbitrary concept, and the astrology, it represents that. Because the exaltation of the position of the planet of authority is in the sign of humble service, of maintaining the balance, of helping others selflessly. Libra is the sign of being selfless and dependent, as opposed to being independent and selfish, which would be Aries. So once you understand the concept of legitimate and illegitimate authority, it's very easy to wrap your head around why Saturn is exalted in Libra and debilitated in Aries. So yeah, that was my analysis of the exaltation and debilitation points of Saturn. And like I said, I'm probably going to lump Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto into one video for exaltations and debilitations. I might do a video on the exaltations and debilitations of Rahu and Ketu, but those planets are a lot more complicated. They don't have clear exaltations and debilitations because their position is 180 degrees away from each other at all times. So they're not going to necessarily have the same type of exaltations and debilitations as the other planets who are only in one place at one time. So anyway, that was my analysis, and check in next time for the next video in this series. And if you want to have some say in the next series that I make, if you're interested about a particular astrological concept, drop it in the comments, and I will definitely take that into consideration when I'm thinking about the next series that I do after this one. So yeah, till next time.